Song of Solomon, Song of Songs, it's also known as. Believe me, the section that Angela read is very tame compared to the rest of the book. The rabbis debated for a long time before deciding whether to include this book in the list of official scripture. It's hot, it's sexy. I thought I might read a little bit more of it to you, but I decided I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it up here in public. It's secular. It's one of 2 books in the Bible in which there's no mention of God. The other one is the book of Esther. The book of Esther is about a young Jewish woman who is married off to a foreign king, this foreign king who's ruling over Israel. And she risks her position and her life in order to save her entire people from destruction. It's a story of a powerful young woman who depends upon the God of her people for her courage and her faith. But she is the one who is front and center in the text. God is implied. Same with the Song of Solomon, the Song of Songs. This is a love poem between a man and a woman. And one of the things that is so striking about it is that just in the book of Esther, the woman is active and strong. There's mutual affection and mutual delight. Both parties initiate and both parties respond. There's mutuality of affection, of delight, of desire. Now, I don't need to tell you how unusual it is for women in Scripture to have this much agency in speech and action. But I cannot read you more of this book from this pulpit. It is so full of innuendos and metaphors for sexual love. Although granted, they are ancient ones, still they are easily understood. But thankfully, the rabbis decided to keep it, and it is a treasure. Not just because it talks about human intimate love, not just because the woman is so strong and present in the text, but because in mystical language, it points towards this ineffable union of God and his people, the union of Christ and the soul. Jewish and Christian mystics have loved this book above all the other books because it is a poem directly from the soul of God's people to the soul of God, and from the heart of God to the heart of his people. It speaks painfully of the ache of love, the longing for union, and the endurance of long absences in which neither is available to the other. It speaks, in other words, of what it is like to be smitten with love for God and to find God more absent than present, and vice versa. For God to be so in love with his people and his people so distracted by other things that they do not even glance his way. And then the mystics love this book because it speaks of the joys of union, the joy of communion, the pleasure to be desired more than gold or silver in this marriage between the divine and the human. That's how mystics hear it and digest it, and why we love it. But probably not how or why it was written. It is first and foremost a celebration of human love, and in any day and age, including our own, a celebration of human love that is not exploitative, that is not based in dominance and submission, not based in making someone else an object of advertising or your own projections, but based in freedom and mutuality and respect and humility. This is worth lifting up and celebrating, worth talking about in church, worth teaching about, worth acknowledging how much we all desire to be loved in this way, for who we are, and not for our bank accounts or for our sex appeal, but in and of ourselves, as another soul, another human being made in the image of God and beloved by God. And it's worth acknowledging how hard it is to love, how hard it is to be faithful, really faithful in thought, word, and deed. How hard it is when there is in almost every marriage or long relationship things your partner does or thinks or says, maybe it's only one thing, but things that are just not acceptable to you and they're not going to change. It's worth talking about how to live with that, how to manage that, how to have grace and graciousness and spaciousness in one's intimate relationships. It's worth talking about how to develop the skills to live mindful of what you can change, that usually has to do with yourself, and mindful of what you cannot change, that usually has to do with the other person. How to tell the difference, and how to accept what you can't change, and summon the courage to change what you can. How to rely on grace, and on forgiveness, and on God's power. How to really and truly turn your life over into God's keeping, and to rely on Him rather than on your own willpower. These are conversations worth having in church, worth having with our teens, worth having with each other. Because love isn't easy. Love that is mutual, love that is free, love that is vulnerable, love that is soul to soul, heart to heart, is a treasure beyond all other human treasures. It is precious and all too rare. And the truth is, the long wisdom of our faith is helpful on that journey. So the Song of Songs, the Song of Solomon, is helpful in fanning the flames of desire, appreciation, and gratitude, regardless of age. The whole history of the people of God and devotion and faithful hope looks like as we watch God reach out endlessly to His wandering people, as we witness and experience His rescue from one predicament after another. If we echo that faithfulness even just a little bit on our human scale, we will have done such a good work of love. And Jesus shows us both the reality of love as sacrifice and as power. Jesus is not a doormat. He doesn't allow anyone else, no matter how greatly he loves them, to determine his course in life and in death. He doesn't allow it to determine his responses. He shows us love that is completely grown up, in possession of a clear mind, a clear heart, a clear soul, clear vision, able to lay down his life of his own accord and to take it up again. And we have so many examples of devotion and faithfulness among us. Examples that we can learn from, imitate, and appreciate. I listened to an interview this last week with an 18-year-old Syrian refugee who had already trekked over 1,000 miles in his attempt to get to safety. But not alone. Not alone. He had pushed his grandmother in her wheelchair the whole way, over 1,000 miles. When the interviewer asked him what would happen if the wheelchair gave out or if he could no longer push it, and he said without any hesitation, he said, "I would carry her." These are examples of love and devotion and faithfulness beyond our imagining, really, and they're right here among us in our world. Pushing a grandmother in a wheelchair over 1,000 miles. That, my friends, is faithfulness and devotion in action. That is love with a capital L. Whether it's sacred, secular, erotic, or filial, it doesn't matter. Love is love is love. And true love, true devotion, true faithfulness never fails to testify to our humanity that is permanently stamped with the image of God. Now, do we fall down in these matters of loving faithfulness? Of course. Many times, every day, right? I'm guessing that if we took a confidential poll, we would discover that many here have experienced betrayal, adultery, divorce, all kinds of brokenness when it comes to matters of faithfulness and devotion. That's why in all matters we cling to grace, God's grace, which is ultimately the wellspring of forgiveness and healing and starting over and new life and of love in all its varieties and all its forms. The Song of Songs concludes with this command: set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm, for love is strong as death, passion fierce as the grave. Its flashes are flashes of fire, of a raging flame. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can floods drown it. If one offered for love all the wealth of his house, it would be utterly scorned. If one offered for love all the wealth of his house, it wouldn't even hold a flame, hold a candle to that wealth of love. We need to hear voices that speak boldly of true love, love in all its dimensions, love when it's hard, love when it breaks your heart, love when it's overwhelming, love when it's steady and warm, love when it's absent, love where lives are rescued and changed and transformed. Let's be that kind of church. Let's be that kind of place where people are honest, where we can be honest, where we can be real, where we step out in love, carried and upheld by grace. Amen.